Reached the hour of 5:30. I am calling the January 23rd, 2024 Modesto City Council meeting to order and ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Council members Gutierrez
Here.
Vice Mayor Alvarez,
Here.
Councilmember Ricky,
Here.
Councilmember Bavaro,
Here.
Councilmember Williams,
Here.
Councilmember Wright,
Here.
and Mayor Zwellen.
Here. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation from John Torrey's City Ministry Network.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's pray. Father, thank you for the men and women in front of me and the men and women behind me and their hearts for their community. We are grateful for this time, grateful for the rain yesterday. Lord, we just ask that you are with this time. Keep our hearts pure and our conversations peaceful. We love you. We are grateful for you, and we say these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Does the city clerk have any announcements?
Yes, Mayor, just a reminder, public comment is 3 minutes, and there are blue speaker cards at the entrance of the chambers.
Thank you. Do any of the council members have any conflicts of interest?
Oh, man.
Seeing none, will the city attorney report out on closed session, please?
Yes, Mayor. The council met in closed session today to discuss an existing litigation matter and labor negotiations. No reportable action was taken.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is item 1, proclamation declaring February as National Black History Month. I will read the proclamation. Black History Month has been officially celebrated in the United States since 1976 in order to promote the cultural, economic, political, and social contributions made by our Black community to help build this great nation. And the theme for Black History Month 2024 is African Americans and the Arts, which highlights the profound impact of African Americans in various artistic and cultural expressions, including visual and performing arts, literature, fashion, folklore, language, film, music, architecture, culinary arts, and other forms of cultural expression. And African American artists have historically used art as a powerful tool to preserve history and promote empowerment. This theme is infused with the lived experiences of African, Caribbean, and Black American communities, showcasing their pivotal role in shaping artistic and cultural movements worldwide. And the City of Modesto is committed to equity and inclusion and continues to work toward becoming an inclusive community in which all residents, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions to our community and country. Now, therefore, the Modesto City Council hereby proclaims the month of February 2024 as Black History Month in the City of Modesto and urges all of our residents to commit to working toward the ideals of equality, freedom, unity, and the abundance of opportunities that our country represents. Dated this 23rd day of January 2024. Accepting the proclamation will be Connie Gustafson, Acting President of the Modesto Stanislaus NAACP. Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you so much for this proclamation. It is an honor for me to stand before you today and represent our Modesto Stanislaus NAACP. We are very proud of the community in which we serve and all of the wonderful contributions the African American community has given to Modesto, California since the late 1800s when we got here, when the city first began. Nicole, were you going to come up with me? Yeah, okay. I just want to remind you all, in the interest of the arts, of what you can do this month to celebrate Black History Month. Go to the library, find a book that you haven't read one. Our local store, Target, every year features many African American books by African American writers for our African American youth. So you can go there and check out those books. In terms of the arts, our local African American drama troupe, is producing Death of a Salesman. It's called Sankofa is the group. Death of a Salesman, which will be at the Gallo Center this month, February 16, 17, and 18. So you can see a play. Also at MJC, we will be co-sponsoring the 30th Annual Martin Luther King Jr. Commiseration with Maya Wiley as our speaker. There are so many things that can be done during the month to help us celebrate. We thank you so much for the proclamation.
I don't have much of a voice, but I just want to echo all of what Connie just said, and also add that our school's BSU programs, I teach at Johansson High School, our school BSU programs are very excited to be able to demonstrate to their classes and to their school campuses all of the wonderful things that we are celebrating this month. So thank you again.
You're welcome. Are there any comments from council members at this time? Councilmember Williams.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Connie and Nicole, and then also Gladys Williams is a past president of the NAACP and her family. Thank you for being here and receiving this proclamation, and thank you for all the hard work that you two and the rest of the African American community does to bring light to the fact that we're all in this together and Black history is American history.
Thank you. Yes,
All right. Thank you for being here this evening, and I will now bring the proclamation down and present it.
Thank you. Mrs. Williams? Everyone's here. Oh, yes, thank you.
Uh-oh. That's all right.
Oh, well, we can't have that. All right, there we go.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for recognizing.
Thank you. Nicole, so good to see you.
Next is item 2, a proclamation declaring February as National Cancer Prevention Month. I will read the proclamation. National Cancer Prevention Month was first observed in 2004 after the passage of Senate Resolution 252 in 2003. It was introduced by Senator Ernest Hollings to encourage communities across the country to take this opportunity to educate one another on the steps that they can take to prevent cancer. And according to the National Institutes of Health, approximately 1.9 million people are diagnosed with cancer each year in the United States. Nearly half of those diagnoses are breast, prostate, lung, pancreas, or colon cancers. And more than 40% of all cancer diagnoses in the United States are due to preventable causes. And these causes include smoking, physical inactivity, and excessive exposure to the sun. This means we can take steps towards preventing certain cancers and protecting our health. And making healthy lifestyle choices and annual cancer screenings for the detection of some cancers can prevent the disease from reaching an advanced, potentially fatal disease. And now therefore, I, Suze Wallen, hereby proclaim February 2024 as Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Modesto and urge every member of our community to take this opportunity to educate one another on the steps they can take to detect and prevent cancer in themselves and their families. And this is dated today, the 23rd of January, 2024. Lupe Delgado from the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network will receive the proclamation. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I did write a little speech here, so I want to say thank you, and I'm very humble, representing the American Cancer Society, and so I just want to say thank you to everyone. So yes, February is known as the as the Cancer Awareness Month, which I believe it's an excellent opportunity to recognize and celebrate the progress that we have made in the fight against cancer. A recent report from the American Cancer Society shows that overall cancer mortality has continued to decline, resulting in over 4 million fewer deaths in the United States since 1991. It's clear that scientific discovery, cancer screening, and good public policy are paving the road to reduce the suffering and death caused by this disease. However, we have a lot of work ahead of us. As I did mention, good public policy. It is crucial to know that we all play a role to ensure that everyone in Modesto has a fair and just opportunity to prevent, detect, treat, and survive cancer. A step in that direction is to stop big tobaccos from profiting at the expense of our health. We have learned that rural communities have a higher proportion of stores that sell menthol, cigarettes, and flavored non-cigarette tobacco products. In addition to that, we have learned that rural residents start smoking at an earlier age, as well as rural counties have some of the highest smoking rates in California and have a higher rate, as you mentioned earlier, lung cancer. The American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network is advocating for a tobacco retail licensing program that will help hold Modesto retailers accountable for following state and local tobacco laws. Our project, the Stanislaus Tobacco Prevention Action Team, is also working to end the sale of flavored tobacco products to protect our children from the dangers of tobacco and help reduce tobacco-related death and disease in our Modesto communities. We look forward to working with all of you, Mayor, and all City Council members, so that we can enact policy that will help us get closer to ending cancer for everyone as we know it. So again, I just want to say thank you so much, and we really do look forward to working with you guys.
You're welcome. Are there any members of the council that have any comments at this time? Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm truly thankful for all of those that are helping the Cancer Society. I did lose my biological mother last year in Missouri, cervical cancer, and she held on as long as she could, but the support groups in that particular area have been phenomenal. So thank you for all the work that you do and have done, and all the rest that are not here today but are out there doing a wonderful job with this issue of cancer.
We'll just make one comment. I think that part of the reason why we do these proclamations is to provide an awareness to the community, and even if it's one person in this room that is just postponing that follow-up appointment for whatever the multitude of issues it could be, maybe someone will go and follow up, and it might be the difference between life and death. literally. So I just encourage all of us to do that, to have routine checks, to follow up with the exams that we know help prevent cancers. And I say this as a nurse. Many of you know I'm a registered nurse. But I'm thinking even, I know there's one dentist in the room here, and one, my husband is, but that's not why I'm saying this. But even just regular dental checkups, every single time they will do an exam for oral cancer. So, I mean, you know, just common checkups, simple things that we do really make a difference and are so important in finding it early. Early detection is huge. So if any of us happen to be that person that knows that we need to get back in to the doctor, dentist, whatever, be checked out, now's the time to do it. Any other comments? Seeing none, thank you for being here this evening. I'll now bring the proclamation down and present it. All right, the next is item 3. Consider approving the appointment of Rajmeet Graywal to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term with a term of expiration of December 31st, 2027. Does council have any questions of staff? Seeing none, I will open this up to the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding item 3? Seeing none, I will close public comments. Council comments. Jeremiah Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, you will definitely be a great addition to the commission, but I do want to take a step further and say happy birthday to your brother, which is Manny Graywal. So happy birthday, Manny. Today is his birthday. You don't have to sing or anything, anybody, just saying. And then lastly, I do want to recognize Greg Savage, who is the founder of the Sankofa, who I didn't see until just now, who was to be a part of the proclamation. So thank you, Sankofa, Reverend Savage.
All right. I have a resolution approving the appointment of Rajmeet Graywal to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term with a term expiration of December 31st, 2027. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Whoa.
Second.
I got to
So
get my
from
legs
that, I'm
in when I
supposed to
can.
determine who made the motion.
Rosa.
All right, Councilmember Scudia Brayton made the motion. Second, I heard from Councilmember Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Scutia Brayton.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Pivaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item 4, consider recommending the reappointment of Roger Shanks to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term with a term expiration of December 31st, 2027. Does council have any questions of staff? Seeing none, I'll open it up to the public for item 4. Any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding this item? Seeing none, I'll close public comments. Are there any council comments? Now at this time, I have a Resolution approving the reappointment of Roger Shanks to the Planning Commission for a second four-year term with a term expiration of December 31st, 2027. May I have a motion? Approved by Councilmember Wright, second by Councilmember Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmembers Gutierrez Brayton.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwollen.
Aye. Carries unanimously. Next is public comment. As noted on the agenda, public comment will be only in person. Zoom will still be available for viewing and wordly translation. Does anyone wish to speak on any item under public comment? This is for items not on the council agenda, and each person has 3 minutes to speak. I see I have for this part. It looks like the other 3 blue cards are for an item later on the agenda. And I have Derek Castle twice, and one of them refers to item 8. So I just need to clarify if you would like item 8 pulled from consent for discussion.
Yes, please.
Okay, all right, then I will hold that card. And we will start for public comment for items not on the agenda, and we have Netta Berry.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council member. On October 7, 2023, my world was shaken as terrorism attacked my people in Israel. For hours, innocent citizens were slaughtered, tortured, raped, burned, and no one came to the rescue. On December 12, 2023, my world was shaken again when in this room, uneducated individual attacked verbally and asked to eliminate the Jewish nation, and no one said a thing. No one stood up. The room remained in deep, heavy silence. I understand the freedom of speech, but what about freedom of religious? Live in peace, free of fear for your safety or your children's safety, just because we are Jew. I live in Israel under daily terrorist attack, but I felt safe. I can no longer say I feel safe here in Modesto, allowing such a hateful speech to take place and remain silent. After hearing his speech, tell me, what did you do? What did you do to prevent such hate? What did you do to prevent another Holocaust? As in this room, I saw a vicious dictator and no one stood up. In the past, 6 million Jews got murdered before anyone stood up to stop a vicious dictator. I wonder if this hate speech was directed toward any other religious, would there still be silence? And I think I know the answer for that. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Next is Derek Castle.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff. On behalf of the College Area Neighbourhood Alliance, I'd like to thank the City Council. When my wife and I moved next to Gresada Park 4 years ago, I made an effort to go around and meet all the neighbours who lived around the park and try and get to know them. What I heard was story after story of how horrible it was to live next to the park. Many were planning to move away, it was so bad. I met neighbours who refused to even let their children play at the playground, even though it was just around the corner, because they felt so unsafe. After Moe's closed, Gresada became Moe's. All day and late into the night. I offered to help the neighbours develop strategies to address these overwhelming problems, and first we asked that the parks be closed at dusk, which the council fortunately saw the wisdom of, and that has been a huge help, so thank you. We wanted to see more positive activities in the park to counteract the negative things. So we asked Parks and Recreation for permission to convert the badly damaged tennis courts to pickleball. And as you know, that has been an outstanding success, especially now with lights, that's brought a new vibrancy to the park. Large group encampments at the pavilion right next to the children's playground were a constant source of problems. At our begging, the city acted, and now there is rarely loitering there. The children's playground is now family friendly, thankfully. With bridge housing, we're hopeful that many unsheltered folk in the park will find a better, healthier place to be staying. Food handouts continue to be a significant problem, but even with this, we see some light at the end of the tunnel. Because since you've funded the day centre, there's absolutely no need for anyone to be doing food handouts in the park now, because you're providing meals 3 times a day, 7 days a week. So thank you, council members, city manager, Chief of Police and city staff for all the help on this. But especially I want to thank our local representative, Council Member Ricky, who's been supportive every step of the way. Thank you, Chris. There is a ways to go, but it's been a major turnaround, which is much appreciated by the neighbours and by the park users. So I want to say thank you on their behalf. Thanks.
You're welcome. Next is Linnell Solomon.
Good evening, council members. Linnell Solomon here. I stand before you as a proud Jewish Israeli American, compelled to address an issue you all failed to address except for council member Alvarez. Councilmember Bavaro was not present. However, I have no doubt if he had been, he would have addressed this issue right away. At September 26th meeting, there were some racial Zoom comments about blacks and Hispanics that were immediately shut down, condemned by most of you, if not all, and taken off YouTube. Rightfully so, because it was a hate speech, which is illegal. I commend you all for that. Fast forward to December 12th. There was an ignorant scumbag that got up and spewed his anti-Semitic garbage, calling for the expulsion of the Jews amongst many other vile comments. The guy is such a coward that he couldn't even give his true name Harley. You didn't put a stop to his disgusting rhetoric. You allowed him to spew for 3 minutes. I thought for sure during council comments you all would have condemned this scumbag, but only Alvarez did. The reason I didn't say anything last meeting is because I was giving you all the benefit of the doubt, assuming you would comment. And I was shocked to find that you didn't. So I was waiting to see if you would condemn him at the last meeting. You all should be ashamed of yourselves. What kind of leaders are you? I consulted with an attorney, and he did confirm that was indeed an illegal speech, hate speech. You, Mr. City Attorney, did absolutely nothing, as well as you, Mayor, and the MPD. Those of you that are supposed to uphold the law failed. You should have had that disgusting excuse of a human being removed, but instead, you, Mayor, and MPD told my husband he was disrupting the meeting after that scumbag gave him the Nazi salute. How dare you? Now it is clear to me where you stand. Your silence screams louder than your words ever could. Your silence influences and incites hatred. It was low-level politicians as yourselves 90 years ago that kept silence, which in turn encouraged the lies of the Nazis and eventually brought the Holocaust upon the Jewish people. It saddens me to know that this is the leadership of our community. I will not let those of my people that have died for being Jewish or died fighting for my people's right merely to exist have died in vain. I almost lost my entire family in the Holocaust. I will continue their fight. I will continue the fight of my people. We are the people of heart, courage, faith, compassion, humanity, kindness, intelligence, unity, and strength. We are the Jewish people, and we will survive.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I was not at the meeting. I did review the video of the meeting, and I found that this language was dangerous, reckless, uneducated, un-American rhetoric. Such words are not welcome in this chamber.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to come forward to speak under public comment? And this is for items not on the council agenda.
Hi, my name is Kevin McClarty. Hi, Mayor and council members. So I'm seeking clarification on something. This is pertaining to the ACE train. So the ACE train originally was supposed to start coming to Modesto in 2022, then it was 2023, then it was put off to 2026. And these are because of delays along the tracks and pertaining to Caltrans and other things, as I understand it. And then it was my understanding that the city required that there be noise buffers put up at each one of the intersections along 9th Street. And then also the governor cut funding to public transit. So what I'm seeking is clarification on this matter. How much is this going to delay the train? Now, I mean, before the sound buffer delay, and then also before the transit delay, you know, before the budget cut from the governor, it was delayed to 2026. That was before these two major things. Now, in the aftermath of these two things, I'm curious as to where we're at now. What is it looking like in terms of the future of this train? What year are we talking about now? Do we have any idea as to when it'll be now? Or is the project going to be canceled? Thank you.
You're welcome. What I will do is refer you to Deputy City Manager Allison Van Gilder, who can give you her card, and I can help you get in touch with the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission, SJRRC.
Thank you. Appreciate
for
it.
further clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to come forward under public comment? All right, please come forward.
Good evening, Councilor. You know, I have to tell you about my day today. Today in the morning, I attended the Board of Supervisor meeting with my wife. And the reason we went over there, I keep telling her for probably more than 6 months now that she should go over there to talk about the homeless issue in Modesto and in the county. She's busy, and 9 o'clock in the morning, it's not the best time for her to go, but we finally made it. And I have to tell you, I was in shock. You know, first, I was in shock about the attitude, completely different attitude. Not about, I'm not sure if they agree with what we believe in, that's not the point. But the point is that when you talk and say things that they maybe don't agree with you, you not immediately become the enemy. They actually, when I was done talking, and by the way, they give you 5 minutes to talk over there, but when I was done talking, and not just me, a few other people, they always engage with you, they pay attention to what you said, they respond. And I think in this, one thing that's missing here in the city of Modesto, there's no connection between you councilors to the people. And I don't know if it's the mayor, if it's the city manager, but it's something you need to work on. You know, you guys had the workshop about the homelessness. So what you did over there, you given everybody 2 minutes to talk, instead 3 minutes. You turn it to a show like, I hate to say it, that was almost like a Russian court. And if you want people to believe you and people trust you, you need to create the trust, and it's on you. And you need, I don't know if it's every few months out of every year, every 3 months, 4 months, you need to make an appointment to meet people, and let people speak, and not always on the clock. You know, we're not professional talkers, so also for us, in 3 minutes every time to make it to the point, It's not easy, you know. But I really believe you need to think about it. As a matter of fact, mayor, city manager, you know, maybe you want to attend one of those meetings and see the difference. And tell me if I'm wrong. And one more little thing about the homeless, you know. I think, you know, with all the respect, I don't say much anymore. There's no reason for it. But let me tell you something. If you be on the street, and I've been on the street lately, you know, and if you've been on the street, you realize that all the little things that you give yourself credit, it's all good. But the bottom line, there are more and more people out there. And I think you need to pay attention for those points. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone wishing to come forward under public comment? Right.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Good evening, city manager, city attorney. I'm just grateful for this appointment to the Planning Commission, and I wish to serve the best I can and every ability that I have to be a servant of this community. I want to thank my family who's here, and I want to thank you all that took the time to interview me. I know there was a lot that day, but I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Appreciate your words. Thank you.
Congratulations, Raj.
All right. Seeing no one else. Next on the agenda is consent items. An item may be removed from consent and discussed at the request of a member of the public or council member. Is there anyone on the council that would like a consent item removed for further discussion?
Number 8 has been removed, Mayor.
Seeing none, I'm just getting to that. And I'm asking, is there anyone in the public that would like an item removed from consent for further discussion or comment? And we have noted that item 8 has been pulled by Derek Castle. So will the city clerk please read the consent items?
Item 5, consider approving the minutes from the January 9th, 2024 council meeting. Item 6, consider approving a first amendment to the legal services agreement with Swingle, Van Egmond, and Heitlinger for revised total amount not to exceed $550,000 for representation in tort cases. Item 7, consider approving the encampment resolution funding program application to further our homeless initiatives. Item 8 was removed from consent. Item 9, consider accepting the new traffic signal installation Oakdale Road at Clarentina Avenue project as complete, releasing securities, releasing payments totaling $478,581 to Tim Paxton Pacific Excavation Incorporated, DBA Pacific Excavation of Elk Grove, California, and authorizing the city clerk to file a notice of completion. Item 10, consider accepting the Ralston Tower project as complete, releasing security, releasing payments totaling $952,204 to Taylor Backhoe Services Incorporated, DBA TBS Contractors out of Merced, and authorizing the city clerk to file a notice of completion. Item 11, consider accepting an informational report for the November 2023 accounts payable payment register and void report. Item 12, consider accepting the monthly investment report for November 2023. Item 13, consider approving the second amendment for furnishings of fuel card lock services with Stan Boyette and Sons Incorporated, DBA Boyette Petroleum, Modesto, California, to increase the agreement to a revised total amount not to exceed $14,400,000 over 5 years. Item 14, consider approving an agreement with Tyler Technologies Incorporated out of Plano, Texas for professional services and software subscription for a total amount not to exceed $269,325. Item 15, consider the purchase of Oracle application upgrades and professional migration services to move the city's on-premises e-business suite to Oracle Cloud using Mythix Incorporated out of Virginia Beach, Virginia, for a combined total amount not to exceed $1,219,859 over 5 years. Item 16, consider approving an agreement with Peregrine Technologies Incorporated out of San Francisco for an analytics and data integration platform for a total amount not to exceed $553,500 over 3 years. Item 17, consider approving the purchase of a restroom building for the Tuolumne River Regional Park Picnic Area B from Public Restroom Company out of Minden, Nevada for a total amount not to exceed $328,600 $676. Item 18, consider approving the plans and specs for the Regional Water Recycling Facility Jennings Campus Corrosion Control Measures Project, accepting the bid and awarding a construction contract to TCB Industrial Incorporated out of Modesto in the amount of $3,870,047, authorizing 15% for contingency if needed, for a total payment amount not to exceed $4,450,554. Item 19, consider first amendments to the on-call engineering consultant agreements with Brown and Caldwell, Corolla Engineers, and Hazen and Sawyer, and second amendments to the on-call engineering consultant agreements with Blackwater Consulting Engineers Incorporated, West Geos Associates, and Woodard and Curran to remove the annual not to exceed language.
May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar? Have a motion from Councilmember Williams.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Wright. Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Councilmembers Gutierrez-Brayton.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye. The motion carries unanimously. We will go back to consent item 8. Consider approving the competitive bidding process from the state of California for bridge housing vendors for a total combined amount not to exceed $2 million. We will have a staff report. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Jessica Hill, Director of Community and Economic Development. So on November 7th, the council approved this, the staff to look at bridge housing and bringing it more into our community. And with that, they allocated $3 million in Measure H funds to help support bridge housing units. As staff was looking to bring bridge housing to our community, we have looked at different RFPs to identify vendors that we could have on call to help support these efforts. And so this item is to piggyback on the state of California's bridge housing vendor list, where it identifies 6 different vendors who the city would be able to use in an amount not to exceed $2 million, dependent on what the needs are of the sites that are identified for future bridge housing sites. And so this is, again, to have on-call vendors for the bridge housing unit themselves for the city to engage with once those sites are identified.
All right. Are there any questions from council members of staff? Seeing none, I'll open this up to the public, or if there's any members of the public to come forward. I have Derek Castle.
Thank you again, Mayor, council members. We're all aware of the large number of folk who currently sleep at nights on our downtown streets and in the parks. The pit count on Thursday will no doubt show how many hundreds of unsheltered folk there are. As Jessica mentioned, you allocated money in November for bridge housing to help those folk get off the streets. I strongly support bridge housing. However, as far as I know, there's no concrete plans for bridge housing sites for folk who currently sleep in our alleys and behind dumpsters. And that's partly because it's hard to identify for them appropriate sites. Yesterday, an ex-council member jokingly suggested to Council Member Wright that he put bridge housing at Naragi Lakes. But joking aside, it is a problem where they go. I'm really concerned that the main reason that we initiated bridge housing, and that was to help unsheltered folk to get off the streets, isn't going to happen anytime soon. Tonight you're going to be authorising Edgar to purchase up to $2 million of bridge housing cabins, and I support that. But what I propose is that at least a third of that is allocated specifically for cabins for unsheltered folks who currently are sleeping on the streets downtown and in the parks, and that we don't wait to identify necessarily sites for them, but that we order those cabins and we set them up in warehouses so that folk can immediately, well, within 3 months of getting there, that they can be able to have a place to be able to stay. I've sent you all a proposal about how I believe, at least anyway, it can be done effectively and economically. Now, I don't mind that some of the bridge housing money is going for cabins for people, homeless folk, other than those who are sleeping on the streets. As a matter of fact, I've already submitted a proposal for a bridge housing village for homeless families at a church. Kids are really important. However, the main point when we began at first discussing tents and then we pivoted to bridge housing cabins was for those folk sleeping out on the streets. We have to make sure that we keep that as the focus, even if it is difficult. I'm really hoping that in 3 months we can have 50 or 60 unsheltered folk somewhere safe that they are staying. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other members of the public that would like to come forward to speak under consent item 8? All right, I will close public comments. Are there any comments from council members regarding item 8? Seeing none, I have a resolution approving, I'm sorry, just saw it, but Councilmember Ricky.
Thanks, Mayor. I think that this bridge housing program that we're working on it's a really good start. But I think it's important to, at least from my perspective, I look at it this like it's a start. It's where we're beginning on this project. We know, and we've known from our point in time counts that we have over 1,000 unhoused people on the streets every night. And so we're gonna have to see what we can learn, see what works, and just know that we're going to have to keep working on this. So I think that what we're doing with bridge housing, it's a really good start. I think that it's an excellent effort by the city, and I think it's a good place to start. And so let's see what happens and see what we can learn, and then we can make more recommendations as we go. I realize that there's a feeling that government moves slow, but I think that we need to look at it like we're trying to be careful and do it right. And I think it's challenging. Both, I think, for residents and for me on the council to wait, right? But I think there's some wisdom in it. Thanks, Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. Bridge house, this is a good move, a good start to set the money aside so Edgar will then be able to start purchasing these bridge housing. And I think the bridge housing, maybe you can correct me, but it's under the concept of dignity moves. Am I correct on that? Okay. And so those, like Chris said, this is a start. But also there are those of us in the community that are talking with nonprofits and the private sector to look for and establishing pallet housing, which costs around $2,500 to $3,000. And that process is being discussed as we sit here. And so I'm very positive with that because right now bridge housing is following the model, which I agree with, camp to home. But what's also important is to address the issue of from street to camp, and to be able to have these type of pallets where they will be able to go and get shelter. So it's all positive. I do know, I can say this, that the city manager thinks of homelessness every day because there's 3 of us that call them almost every day and have a discussion. And the city manager is working diligently along with the council to try to not solve the problem of homelessness, but to get it under better management, to better manage this issue. So that's all I have to say about that, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments from council members? All right, I'm going to make a comment. I get accused of a lot of things, but this is an area that, and I'm not sure the 3 that Councilmember Bavaro is referring to, but this is something that is so important to me, to care for our unhoused residents. I didn't expect to even talk about this tonight, but I just came from the U.S. Conference of Mayor in Washington, D.C. and spent days with mayors throughout the country, and we are doing so much in the city to help those that are unhoused, but it will never be enough until every single person is off the streets. And I will spend every day working towards those efforts. Now we're going to have the point in time count. I did the full training on Monday, and I will go out and count on Thursday, and I know other council members have participated in this also. So there's ways that everyone can get involved, but I support this bidding process. I support our bridge housing efforts, and I look forward to improving our community for every single person that lives within our authority to make a difference. Are there any other comments from council members? All right. I will close. We already closed public comments, no council member comments. So I have a resolution approving the competitive bidding process from Department of General Services, Procurement Division of the State of California with the PIH Services Incorporated, Pallet PBC, DBA Pallet Incorporated, Boss Homes LLC, Factory OS, KEB Homes LLC, and AMEG Enterprises LLC for emergency sleeping cabins, storage, and parts and accessories for bridge housing for a total combined amount not to exceed $2 million, and authorizing the purchasing manager or her designee to issue the purchase orders based on contractors' availability and department's needs. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Approved by Councilmember Wright.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Squickia-Brayton.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwollen.
Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next on the agenda is council comments and reports. Are there any members of the council that have any comments and reports? Councilmember Ricky.
Thanks, Mayor. Had a really good time at the MLK March at the King Kennedy Center last week. It was just great to see the community all come together to celebrate the life of a man whose sacrifices made our country and our community just so much better. I also want to talk about, I've been putting off getting my TSA pre for like a decade. And I just found out that this week you can get yours at the Modesto airport all week, all the way until February 2nd. So you go to the Modesto airport conference room and you bring all your stuff and you get your TSA pre. It's pretty great. It starts at 10 a.m., right, Joe? Do you know what time it starts? 9 a.m. Okay, 9 a.m. Cool. So go down there. It's going to be awesome. I also want to talk a little bit about Ensslin Park. We had a couple rough months at Ensslin over the last few months, but I really appreciate the effort that the city's put forth recently in reducing some of the issues there. It proves to me that we do have the ability to make our parks safer. I just am hoping that we could be consistent and keep that effort going. Over the next few months, I'm looking to see that the ability for us to maintain that consistency. And I know that we can keep our parks safe because that's just the right thing to do for our city. We also have to find ways to motivate people delivering food to go to the day shelter rather than handing it out at the parks. Beyond the bushels of trash that are consistently generated, handing out food at the parks results in people not going to the places where they can get the services that they need to get off the streets. So let's find ways to support our day center with food that will benefit many more of our homeless community rather than just the people that are congregating in the parks. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Next is Jeremiah Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Salvation Army and its leadership that it came today, and they do a wonderful job in our community. And of course, it went from just being an overnight to a full-time, and they need our support in this community. And so just like what Councilmember Ricky just said, serving food here, serving food there, giving money on the streets. Let's not do that. Let's make sure the nonprofit organizations that are capable of helping them get to the point they need to get in living, like the Salvation Army, as well as the Modesto Gospel Mission. So kudos to the Salvation Army. Thank you for being here today. And we appreciate everything you do for homeless. So with that, I want to move on to realtors. It's wonderful to have realtors in our midst today. The CVAR who are here, they're having an event coming up on Thursday. They might already be sold out. But thank you also for being a part of the process and moving our community forward. And as Councilmember Ricky did say, there were 4 events that I was able to attend for MLK, one being on Friday. It was a luncheon, and a few of my colleagues were there, and we were able to present a plaque, not so much a plaque, but a beautiful rendering of photos of John Lewis. It was a signed autograph copy that was purchased by Councilmember Nick Bavaro while we were at a fundraiser, and we were able to present that to the King Kennedy Center. Of course, there's going to be a new park there shortly, so we have now put that picture of John Lewis with Dr. Martin Luther King up on the 6th floor, where it can be proudly displayed and seen by those who come up to that area. So thank you, my good friend and City Council member Nick Bavaro, for purchasing that. But the other 3 events were on Monday. One was at 10 o'clock, one was a walk at 1 o'clock that started at 1:30, and then the last one was with Michael Baldwin, who did a wonderful job at the State Theater. So representing Black history, but yet Dr. Martin Luther King and his causes that are all of our causes, that we still can dream, and dream that this community can be the community that we want it to be. Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other comments at this time from council members? One event that Councilmember Williams and I were able to attend is by the Chamber of Commerce, and it's called Shop Greater Modesto. And our council voted to provide some funding to this group. And what it is an online platform for people with small businesses, maybe cottage businesses, that can be promoted there so that any of us can shop from this platform called Shop Greater Modesto. And it is a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs and people that are establishing their own small businesses. There's a whole variety, I can't remember exactly the number, but dozens already of businesses on there that we all have the opportunity to produce and promote economic development. So I encourage everyone to look into that. As was mentioned, that we had a full day of Martin Luther King Day celebrations, and many of the council members participated. I attended the event in the morning at Christian Love, and the music and performing arts, and the room was packed with people from our community to give support for this day. And then, as I mentioned last week, I was at the Mayor's Conference in Washington, D.C., where I attended every day, all day, multiple courses on economic development, heard from most of the cabinet members, from the Secretary of Commerce, from the Secretary of Energy, Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, and then on Friday ended the week in the White House with President Biden. Vice President Harris also spoke at the conference, but it was beautiful to be in the White House with him and to hear and see and listen to all the ideas that mayors throughout the country have. But really, what I came back and shared with our city manager just today is honestly every single course that I attended, we were doing what was described and what many cities are just beginning to do. So I am proud of our efforts, and I felt like there's a reason why these 15 to 16 hour days that we all put in are happening, and it's because we're putting in the time and doing a lot of work to improve our community. So I appreciate everyone that's here tonight and the support that you give also to help us in those efforts. I do not see any other names for further comments. So does the city manager have any comments and reports at this time? All right, thank you very much. On to item 20. This is a hearing to consider proposed amendments to the general plan and the specific plan amendment number 26 to the Village 1 specific plan to rezone 84.1 acres from business park to single family residential. And we have Jessica Hill, our Economic Development Director.
Thanks, Forrest. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. As the mayor explained, we're going to go over a potential project called the Crossings. So for a little bit of background, the city received an application in July 2022 from D.R. Horton to convert the area on the map above. That included 84.1 acres to 6 to 7 dwelling units per acre. So essentially rezoning the acreage from park to single family residential. What they're looking at is 6 to 7 dwelling units per acre, lot sizes between 3,400 and 7,000 square feet, a park space with a dual-use storm basin, some landscape lots, and bike paths. So for a little bit of background, this area that they're proposing is part of what's called the Village 1 Triangle. So to the west is Claus Road, to the south is Briggsmore, along the east is Santa Fe, and up to the north is when Santa Fe actually crosses Claus Road. The Village 1 Triangle was traditionally zoned for business park uses, and the general planned land use associated with it was business park commercial residential, or BCR. So in order to approve this application, it has 5 different components: the general plan amendment, specific plan amendment, precise plan document, our vesting tentative subdivision map, and our final development plan. So the first component is a general plan amendment in regards to land use. So this needs to move forward in order to change the business park commercial residential to residential, and that would be for that 140 acres. And so you can see the areas in pink would change to the areas in yellow to allow for residential. The second component is regarding the parks component. So traditionally in each new specific plan area or parks planning area, the city requires a minimum of a 7-acre park. What we're requesting for this development is, instead of having just one park with 7 acres, that we still have that 7-acre requirement, but split into 2 separate parks. And so as you can see there would be a 3.5-acre park south in the current development proposed, and then a little north of the property, there would be another 3.5-acre park. And what we've included here is a park concept of what the developer's planning to do for their park and their park planning area. The next component is regarding circulation, and with that I'm going to have Toby Wells, our engineering director, speak to that circulation element.
Thank you, Jessica. Good evening, Mayor, council members. So as part of the application here, in order to change this area to facilitate development of residential, one aspect that is critical is how it impacts the circulation within the community. So what's shown here is the general plan document as it exists today, and you'll see there kind of on the right side in the orangish color is the Claus Road area. So that is currently expected to be a 6-lane expressway that connects kind of north all the way through south and would end up going through the city of Ceres down and connect to State Route 99. Over time, that concept has evolved as to what the ultimate facility may or may not be, and as the council knows, we are currently constrained, i.e. just south of Briggsmore, we do not have the adequate right-of-way to install 6 lanes of an expressway. So there's constraints to that, and over time, that conversation has evolved and changed. And so the 2 proposals tonight, and I'll go into a little more detail, is changing the 6-lane facility of Claus Road from Briggsmore to Sylvan to a 4-lane principal arterial. In addition, changing currently Briggsmore Avenue east of Claus Road from a 6-lane down to a 4-lane to the railroad tracks. And so the previous concept, so early 90s when the Village 1 specific plan was created, the concept was an urban interchange, and I'll show a little exhibit there. I know it's kind of hard to see, but that shows Briggsmore and the Claus Road Expressway going over Briggsmore. So think of a 25-foot tall crossing of Briggsmore, elevated. It would then go north, go underneath Floyd, over Sylvan, and over the BNSF railroad tracks. So two things that come to mind there. One, very intrusive from a land standpoint and how much land it takes, and two, the cost of building such a facility. And so the other thing that's important to note is that in 2016, when the Measure L was passed for funding for regional projects of significance, this project was not included, i.e. we didn't have another funding source to help build something that was obviously a very, very expensive facility. So as a result of all of those, and then with the conversation of our ultimate general plan, this idea of reducing this facility down to a principal arterial became a much more pragmatic approach to providing the best service for our residents. With the change to residential, this becomes even more important because now we have the ability to provide access to those residential homes that are proposed here as part of this proposal. So the analysis that's shown here of what we did as part of the traffic study that was performed by the developer, as well as our review and the additional information, was a concept for Claus Road to be able to facilitate this moving from a 6-lane expressway to a 4-lane arterial, which would be allowing for roundabouts to be installed for this development at the intersections of Claus and Merle, and Briggsmore and Held, and then future as part of the ultimate development of the triangle area, there would be roundabouts at Floyd and at Milne's. And so what's illustrated there is the tentative proposed phasing for the development that is proposed, and then the timing for the construction of those improvements of the two roundabouts that would facilitate movements in and out of this development. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jessica.
So the next component of what we're seeking approval for is a specific plan amendment. And so we're seeking approval for the first two items, so the land use from business park to village residential, the circulation of changing both Claus and Brixmore to four-lane principal arterial streets for the areas of the proposed development. What it's also doing is an adoption to the different development standards. And so there's a proposal for some of the lots to have a 10-foot wide yard setback and an 18-foot setback for garages. And so just for reference, traditionally it's 15 feet and 20 feet for garages. A shorter 10-foot dimension for private rear yard. Ooh, it's tongue-tied today. But still maintaining the 300 square foot minimum area. And so again, for context, the typical is a 15-foot rear yard and side setback. And then also some allowances for multifamily development in the business park areas with a final development plan. The next component of the application is a precise plan. So each development that's brought forward in Village 1, you have to take an overall look of the total precise plan. And for this one, it's precise plan number 35 in the Village 1 specific plan. So the precise plan overall is 257 acres, and it spans from Briggsmore to Milne's between Claus Road and the railway. What it does is just ensures that we establish land uses for the entire plan, circulation and utility requirements for that entire area. And so where we just have this development proposed for a specific part of the precise plan, we make sure we take into account the entire precise plan area to make sure future development could tie in appropriately. So as part of the precise plan number 35, part of the requirements are the circulation plan, which requires 2-lane roundabouts at Claus and Merle and East Briggsmore and Held. It also, as a result of the sound study, required some sound walls. And there are sound walls along Claus, along Briggsmore, and then a larger 9-foot sound wall along the railroad alignment. What it does provide is 60 and 69-foot residential street cross sections with a Class 4 separated bikeway, as well as internal 100-foot roundabouts within the tentative map for that internal circulation. And then ensuring that we have landscaped gateway entry along Claus and Merle. And here is a proposal of the bike infrastructure associated with the proposed development. Next up, or the fourth item, is the vesting tentative subdivision map. And what the vesting tentative subdivision map does, it divides that 84.1 acres into 527 single-family lots. What that also includes is the 5 landscape lots and the 1 park dual-use basin. What we ensure is also outlined in the vesting tentative subdivision map is all of the transportation improvements we've already talked about and the sound walls associated with that. As part of the analysis, and when we refer it to other city departments and city partners, is we get feedback for those. And one of those is there was enough school capacity to accommodate these new single-family homes. And what we wanted to do was ensure we had an enhanced crosswalk across Claus for those students to actually go to Marianne Sanders across that in the Village 1 area. It does talk about those roundabout components, and then I've already touched on a bit, but due to the sound study, the new sound wall is proposed at the Claus Road, at Briggsmore, and then along the railroad alignment. So for additional notification to those residents who will be living in this area, there's acoustical treatment for homes within 200 feet of the railway, and then there will be noticing to the future homeowners who may have noise impacts from the nearby mosquito abatement district. And so that has been mitigated as part of their conditions. And then again, what staff ensured happened was on Claus Road, we had sufficient landscaping along all of Claus in the subdivision with a special gateway entry into Claus Road and Merle Avenue. This is an example of what the special crosswalk would potentially look like. Next up is the final development plan, and this is to determine the development and architectural standards, including the homesteading and setbacks. And so here kind of are some illustrations of the enhanced landscaping within the proposed development, as well as some renderings of the different elevations of homes that are planned for this area. And so as you can see, there's 5 different plans, and they range from about 1,500 square feet to up to 1,900 square feet. So if this is passed today, the next steps would be to form our community facilities district, and that would be to ensure we have that mechanism of funding to pay for this enhanced maintenance of landscaping and other amenities for this area. The grading and demolition plans have already been submitted to the city, and the developers expected to submit improvement plans by spring 2024, with a goal of home construction to begin in 2024, at the end of 2024, fall or winter. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation. Does council have any questions of staff? Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation and few comments. I know that when we talked about this about a year ago or so, we were talking about signals, so I'm glad that there are roundabouts, because that's already a kind of a racetrack on that street. But taking it down to 4 lanes and then doing a roundabout, it really will help traffic flow. On that street, is there a medium in between that at all? Will there be a medium?
Yes, there will.
Okay, there will be a medium. That's great. And then the other thing that 69 feet is across, right, from one spot to the other, from
Correct.
one, because I Street is 72 feet, and that's plenty wide with parking, so that should be enough room for people to get in and out of traffic. So that's a good plus as well. I think that's it, Mayor, that I wrote down. I think there was one other thing I can't remember, but that's it for now. Thank you,
You're
Jessica.
welcome. Councilmember Escudia Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation, very comprehensive. So the entire project is approximately 84 acres.
84, correct.
84.1 to be exact. And you indicated that the recommendation was to break this traditional 7-acre park to a 2. How many half parks, I'm going to refer to them, would there be? Just
so we're saying 2 3.5 acre parks to get that combined 7 acres.
Okay, do we have a standard in the city that dictates when a park, the ratio of acreage of a project, how many parks are required?
So it's a minimum of 1 acre per 1,000 residents according to our general plan. But with that, it's also a minimum of 7 acres. So no matter how many residents they had, it would trigger the 7 acre requirement for parks. What we worked out with the developer is they anticipated how many people that would be in their general area, which would trigger that smaller park. And it's where we worked very closely with the developer to determine we could break up a park to 3, or make a recommendation to break it up into 2 smaller parks to help accommodate those needs of that area.
Okay, all right, that was creative. Can you find for me, if you would be so kind, a picture that really shows the Claus and Merle Street? That at the best, all of the graphics were fairly small, and the reason why I'm asking you to do that is you did reference the enhanced landscaping that would take place specifically in Claus and Merle. So are those are those the streets where the sound walls are proposed to be on?
So I wanted to take an area of the whole proposed development. And so if you look at Claus Road here, you can see the main entry point to this development is along Merle. And so that's kind of where we have the gateway area and enhanced landscaping there. So along Claus in that area in the part in yellow, and you can see like little green circles for trees, and that's where the enhanced landscaping would be. That would be in front of the proposed sound wall along Claus.
The main artery is, I wish you had a pointer because I really can't see this diagram. My biggest concern is when we have a large project such as this, that the main artery that is not enhanced with landscaping. It's normally the interior streets and the entranceways that are enhanced with beautification and landscaping, and it looks quite lovely to go in there and walk around the neighborhood. But the back wall, the wall that normally backs up into a main artery is not touched, and over time it looks sad and blighted. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to see what artery was that, what that was going to look like for this project. So
that would be Claus Road, and we worked very closely with the developer and added a condition for that landscaping requirement along Claus to ensure that we had that enhanced landscaping in the development and then a part of those main arterial streets as well. So
beautiful. Okay, great. And I have just a couple more brief questions. Toby referenced the roundabouts. You had mentioned that we have two, and we have two future ones. I see where the two are identified as being proposed to be built. Where are the two future ones proposed to be built?
Yes, so the two that would go in with the project are shown kind of on this map here. So at Claus and Merle, and then Briggsmore and Held, so kind of on the bottom right corner of that. The additional roundabouts that would be in the future as part of the rest of the development of the triangle would be at Floyd and Claus and Milne's and Claus.
And the reason why they're there in the future is going to be phased in?
Phased in with the future development. So what we expect once, assuming this project moves forward, that we have already had inquiries from the property owners to the north who are interested in moving forward with additional development. That would trigger those additional facilities when those areas come in.
I see, thank you. And my last question is in regards to the sound walls. How high are they? And are they the same height for all of them?
So the sound walls along Claus and Briggsmore are both 7 feet tall, and then the sound wall adjacent to the railway is 9 feet tall.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I have a question. How many square feet did you say the homes were?
So they ranged, and the developer can speak more to that in public comment, but they range from about 1,500 to 1,900.
Thank you. Next is Councilmember Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been following this project for, I think, almost 2 years now, and this is in my district, and one of the issues that I hear from my constituents is that we need more housing, especially affordable housing. And I think this project with 1,500, 1,600 square foot homes is going to help meet that need, and I'm really excited about this. I did have a concern about the roundabouts. I know there are quite a few roundabouts in my district. I think almost every street has a roundabout in my district. I think I have 99% of the roundabouts in my district. But one of my concerns is that Claus Road is a speedway, 50, 60 miles an hour. And I'm hoping that we're looking at that to really calm that traffic down with maybe some of the signs that lets people know how fast they're going. That are blinking, I think, and then the speed limit, are we going to lower the speed limit on that area?
So I'll have Toby speak to the full details, but I think the overall goal with the roundabouts was to ensure the flow of traffic, so the traffic would still flow down there, as well as slow it down. Also, is we wanted to ensure the safety of the intersections themselves, because the turns on, from Floyd onto Claus or from Milne's onto Claus are quite, dangerous. And with additional development coming in, we wanted to ensure those were addressed as well.
Yeah, one of the primary aspects of the roundabouts, and especially in the modern design that we're seeing today, is a significant aspect of traffic calming. The ability to slow traffic down as they enter the roundabouts is a fundamental difference between what we see in our traditional traffic calming measures. When you have an intersection, when you have an accident at an intersection that's signalized, those results are often, very tragic because you're, high speed. With roundabouts, as you're slowing people down, the accidents you do see are much slower speeds, which result in, much less catastrophic outcomes. So you're seeing most of the traffic industry moving in that direction, assuming that it works, right? You have to be able to get the right volume of traffic through that area. So speed is an important factor, as well as the site constraints and site design. So all of those factors come into play to ensure we design the appropriate, facility for the right location. We are confident that the roundabout is the appropriate solution here. In terms of speed limits are a bit challenging in the fact that what we have to do to follow state law in order to have it enforceable. So I can't give you a specific answer that we're going to be lowering those speed limits because it does require a specific study. But as we change the facility from what it is today, a 2-lane rural roadway is what it is today, to a 4-lane median divided roadway that's serving residential, we have the opportunity to revisit that. And so I can't commit to it, but yes, it will be part of that analysis to set it appropriately for what that roadway ultimately will be.
And the pedestrian signal, the hawk, that's the one that's overhead?
Correct, flashing.
And will that be, that's flashing when someone pushes
the button, correct.
The button to flash?
Correct. Yeah. And that would be incorporated as part of that roundabout design.
Yeah, I just want to thank city staff and also the developers that really worked hard on putting this together. I think the idea of splitting the park is a great idea. I see a lot of parks that are not being used at all. I know one there by where I live, right by, I think it's Sylvan School, and back to Sylvan School, there's never anybody at that park. So I think dividing the parks up so where they're closer, where children don't have to go too far away to get to a park is a great idea. So I'm really in favor of this, and thank you, staff, for all the work you've done on this.
All right, Councilmember Ricky.
Yeah, I just wanted to see, is it an appropriate time to ask the developer questions, or do we have to wait for public comment?
I know they're going to come up at public comment. So.
Can I ask questions to them now, or is that not appropriate?
Why don't you go ahead and ask the question, and then I'm
Sorry,
sure it will be answered.
I'm a stickler for decorum.
There you go. Then ask the question. And Jessica, you stay up. And everybody, yes, if you have your, no, write your questions, write them all down, and then you'll be able to answer them all, and then we'll do more Q&A with you.
Right.
Perfect.
So my question is, on the park portion, we're talking about parks a lot. Parks are amazing. This design is fantastic. I was just hoping that the developer could describe for us this park and how they came to this design.
All right.
Great.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I was hoping, Councilmember Chris, you weren't going to try to move Leo the lion over to the park, but
No. He's happy where he is.
But I have a couple of questions for Jessica, and then of course Toby, if he wants to chime in. One of them is does this affect our house count? Does it take us over, or was that a part of the house count that you brought to us about 6 months ago?
So this was a pending project in our RENA count, so our housing element count, to basically aid our housing element number. So this would go towards that.
Okay.
This was a part of it.
And then lastly, are there going to be any bike lanes on Claus? Just curious. I'm not saying you have to have it, but I'm just wondering.
Toby can speak to the connectivity, but if you look in this diagram here, these are the internal roundabouts, those green lines that will connect to ultimate the bike trails, which it does include Claus.
Yeah, part of the Village One specific plan has a Class 1, so a separated bike lane, bike facility along the full limits of Claus Road from Briggsmore all the way to Sylvan. So that will be incorporated as part of the ultimate development of Claus Road. So you'll have that 4-lane facility as well as a separated Class 1, and then their internal circulation, as you're shown here with those green lines, those internal bikeways would then be able to connect through that hawk over to that Class 1 facility, so you'd have a north-south connection as well.
And I might add that we do have that already between Scenic and Briggsmore on Claus. There is a Class 1
Correct.
bike lane.
Yeah, that is part of the overall bikeway system.
So does that bikeway system ultimately connect to the Virginia corridor?
So yeah, in the ultimate plan, yes.
Yes.
So in the general plan, there's a circulation, it's not shown in here, but in the general plan, there's a circulation diagram of our bikeways and bike facilities so that you have a network that is both north-south and east-west.
So, right, and the Virginia corridor will ultimately go out all the way out to Bangs.
There are some missing pieces, but yes.
Eventually everyone could, by bicycle.
Around the city.
Get around the city, correct.
Thank you. All right, any other questions from staff at this time? From council? Seeing none, we will open the meeting, the public hearing. I'll now open the public hearing, and I'll ask members of the public to come forward. I have cards, so I'm going to do my blue cards first, and then we'll hear from whoever would like to. I'd have to take them in the order they were received. Otto Katrina.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and staff. My name is Otto Katrina, and I am the past 2022 president for the California Association of Realtors with a membership of about 210,000 members. I've had the opportunity to travel throughout the state over the past few years and listen to our members, and especially first-time homebuyers who are struggling to purchase a home because of lack of housing inventory. I applaud the City of Modesto for stepping up and exploring an additional 527 homes, newly constructed homes, over the next couple of years. In 2021, California home sales were approximately 443,000 homes. In 2022, that number diminished down to 342,000 homes. Last year, in 2023, state sales were 257,000 homes. Modesto represented 1,526 sales out of the 257,000 home sales. Let me explain the benefits of home ownership. It builds stronger communities and more civic engagement. Home ownership builds personal wealth and generational wealth for generations to come, especially for people of color. Studies show home ownership contributes to healthier families, lower crime rates with home ownership. With home ownership, there's a higher school performance and higher graduation rates. Tax benefits, which include the mortgage interest deduction, property tax deduction. For every home sale, thousands of dollars are pumped back into the local economy from increased retail sales to job growth and much more. And finally, appreciation. I strongly encourage the council to move forward with the Crossings Housing Project to make a stronger community in Modesto. The median price in California for a home is $820,000. The median home price in Modesto is $445,000. Last year, in 2022, there was $300 million that were allocated from the state legislature when I was president of the association. That money was absorbed in 11 days from home buyers. There's an additional $225 million that was just allocated this year. It'll be a little bit too late for us for this project, but hopefully there'll be some more money coming from the states and for the feds to help first-time home buyers. The California Association of Realtors engages in giving $10,000 grants for first-time home buyers that they do not have to pay back. So I applaud you, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, I have Adam Foster and Avery Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. We're with the applicant team. We're happy to go last.
All right. Mike Kelly?
I'm Mike Kelly, formerly with the Central Valley Association of Realtors, RE/MAX executive, and I speak to you, Mayor and Council, on behalf of the local realtors. 527 homes in Modesto is a drop in the bucket of what is actually needed to help with affordable housing. The mere thought of just supply and demand, as you know, there's no supply, demand is high, prices are up. That's been so for the last 4 or 5 years, I would say, in the Central Valley. Now, in Stanislaus County, currently, as of last Wednesday, there are about 275 active listings on the multiple listing system. And that's all price ranges. There's currently about 2,500 realtors who work in Stanislaus County. Every one of those realtors, I would say probably 60% of those realtors probably have 3 or 4 buyers looking for that either entry-level home or that buy-up home. 527 homes active on the market will also increase the resale homes that will come on the market. For many of those sellers will be looking to downgrade and or improve where they are or where they were. So I strongly encourage, just on behalf of supply and demand, that you consider strongly approving this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And Linnell and Netta, I stand by your side.
All right.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to come forward regarding this item, item 20? Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Dave Romano, on behalf of D.R. Horton. It's a great pleasure to be here. The council actually looked at this property in 2019 when you updated your general plan and made a decision then to move from business park to business, commercial, residential, recognizing that was an appropriate land use in this area. We've been to the Planning Commission. This comes before you with a recommendation for approval. It's been a great pleasure of mine to meet the D.R. Horton team. They've really made a commitment to Modesto. They've worked for the last year and a half to get this project moving forward. They sent their A-team, the 2 Adams and Avery, but what really warmed my heart today was when I went into my conference room and I saw that they brought 7 company members to this hearing tonight. And that shows a high level of respect for our city, for our council, and for our staff, and their commitment to this project. So I'm just grateful to have been able to be a part of this. We've got Adam Foster, who has a few comments, and Avery, and then Councilman Ricky. You know, we've got enough people here to answer any question you might have, and we're excited about it. We're excited about this project. So I'm going to turn it over to Adam Foster. Thanks, Mayor.
All right, thank you. So you wanted to go last. So do you want to make sure that there's no one else in the public that would like to speak regarding this? All right. Adam Foster.
Thank you, Mayor Zwellen, members of the City Council, members of the public, and staff. Wanted to thank you for hearing our item today. As was mentioned, we brought our whole team today. In addition to Avery, we have Adam Lins, who grew up here in Modesto and will be with the project from start to finish. We think that Jessica, Toby, especially, and then Catherine and Mike Sikorsky on the staff have done an awesome job. We're really excited to be here and look forward to carrying this project through and discovering other opportunities in Modesto. And just recent example, in order to build this in a timely manner, which we want to do, Toby's accommodation with us on phasing the project has been really helpful. Lastly, before I turn it over to Avery, I just want to state we've read the conditions of approval and the mitigation measures, and we agree to all those. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, members of the public, and city staff. I just have a quick wrap up. We are so excited to bring the crossings to Modesto. As you now have heard, the project will bring 527 single-family homes, over 3 miles of bike trails, and a 3.5-acre park to the city. The single-family homes include 1- and 2-story plans. They average 1,800 square feet and have 3- and 4-bedroom options. The starting sales prices are anticipated to be in the high $400,000 range. The trail connectivity through the project is going to be super awesome. Not only does it promote outdoor living and multimodal transportation, but it also allows a fun and safe way for pedestrians to get to school and to the Amtrak station. The park sits in the middle of the project and can be accessed via trail or car. There will be parking at the park for those who want to come to the park by car. The firefighter-themed play equipment and park is a great touch that gives a nod to the local heroes of Modesto. We plan to break ground in the spring of this year with homes going vertical soon thereafter. So thank you again for all of your hard work and bringing the crossings to life.
All right, thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak regarding item 20? Right, sure. Welcome.
I'm Derek Dommey. I'm a part of Central Valley Association of Realtors. I'm also a board of directors on the CAR. I want to just add one or two couple things to that are left that I felt that need to be said, that I'm passionate about. Past President Katrina brought up great points that I think should be listened to well. Past President of CVR, Mike Kelly, also brought up some great points. But there's one thing that we talk about here, and we start talking about homelessness and we talk about transitional housing. And I want to make sure that's thought about, because I've always said this and I believe this, that there is an evolution of life that takes place in housing. And that is, when we're able to build new construction, it allows, as Mike Kelly said, for people to move from residential into new developments. From there, that opens up people who are currently in multifamily to move into single-family residence. And when the multifamily opens up, that allows people to transition. Those people that we're all well aware of that are changing their lives, moving into a place where they can go into that sector. That's why housing is so important in our town. And the fact that you're considering this, you're looking strongly at getting this done, is huge. And I think we need to continue to lead the way. But I think we need to look at the whole picture, because that covers all the things that we've been talking about tonight, previous nights, and throughout the year. So that's just the last piece that I want to make sure we address and we think about as we walk through this. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. At this time, are there questions from council members that were not answered?
I have a really quick question. Why the crossing? What's the background story on that?
Very good question. What we do when we look at projects is we try to draw from the history and the name, and that was something that was meaningful to the property owner that we thought would be worth preserving.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Councilmember Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. Just full disclosure here to eliminate any confusion. One of the landowners in this project and I share the same last name, but we are not related, unfortunately.
Right. Councilmember Ricky?
I just wanted to ask one more question about the park. So when I heard the initial conversations about this park, Modesto Fire was going to do some stuff involved with the firefighters park, so I just wanted to kind of confirm that that is actually what happened.
Yes, absolutely. And to your question previously, the inspiration for the park came from the community. As we were researching community interest, we saw a firefighter park as an idea that someone thought would be great. We want to execute it to the fullest. So as part of those efforts, we've already engaged Modesto Fire to come up with ways that their ideas can be infused into the park. So this would include a memorial within the park and other items in collaboration with the city to create a really unique experience for Modesto in this park.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close public comments. Now I will ask council members for further comments. Councilmember Wright.
Thank you. I think the last speaker that spoke concerning transitional housing, one of the issues we have here in Modesto is a lack of apartment complexes, affordable apartment complexes. So the more type of housing we do for single family housing, especially in the entry level, that does free up more apartment complex or apartment units, which supply and demand, when there's more supply than demand, you'll see rents start coming back down. I think one of the problems we have here in Modesto, there's not enough housing, so a lot of people are in apartments because they can't find a house to live in or to buy. So this will really help not only single families starting out, but it'll also help free up some of the pressures that are on the apartment, duplex, and hopefully that we'll see a decrease in rents. So this is a great project. We just need more of them here in the city of Modesto.
All right, Councilmember Escudia-Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, D.R. Horton team. You could have invested and put your efforts in other cities, but you decided to do it here in Modesto. For that, we are grateful, and our community will benefit. So, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Ricky.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to echo the sentiments of Councilmember Wright. Developing more housing is absolutely critical to the future of our community. I get emails on a regular basis from residents that can't find a home to buy, can't afford their rent, and it exacerbates not only just our homeless problem, but just a general misery of not being able to afford a place to live. So I want to thank everybody that's working on this project and making this happen, because it's going to make Modesto better.
Thank you. Councilmember Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be voting yes on this measure, on this item, rather. I'd like to thank our city staff for working with D.R. Horton and making this a reality. Hopefully this will be the domino in Modesto to make more housing available in other subdivisions in our town. And look forward to seeing more D.R. Horton folks coming to Modesto. Maybe next time you have 14, we'll have more projects working on. Thank you.
All right, I too will support this project. I think that the square footage of the home is really important to me. I think that the affordability is something that we really need, and I do see the cascading effect to help our unhoused get closer to that. So I will support this also. Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. The one individual that was kind of left out on this, who worked diligently and was pulling his hair out as well, is Dave Romano, a local attorney here. Thank you for stepping up to the plate and making this happen for them as well, because technically it was all on you, and I also will be supporting this.
All right. I will have 6 motions to vote on. So here we go. A resolution approving an amendment to the Modesto Urban Area General Plan. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Wright.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Escudia-Brayton.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye. Carries unanimously. Next is a resolution approving specific plan amendment number 26 to the Village 1 specific plan to amend the land use diagram from Business Park to Village Residential, 140 acres east of Claus Road and north of East Briggsmore Avenue, with associated amendments to the circulation diagram and text. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Bavaro.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Escudia-Brayton. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Escudia-Brayton.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye. Carries unanimously. Next, a motion introducing and waiving the first reading of an ordinance adopting a precise plan for Village 1 Precise Plan Area Number 35 South with amendment of Section 18-3-10 of the zoning map to rezone from specific plan holding zone to specific plan zone, property located east of Claus Road, south of Milneys Road, and north of East Briggsmore Avenue. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by by Vice Mayor Alvarez, seconded by Councilmember Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Gutierrez-Brayton.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye. Carries unanimously. Next is a resolution approving the vesting tentative subdivision map of the crossings. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Williams, second by Vice Mayor Alvarez. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Gutierrez-Brayton.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye. Carries unanimously. Next is a resolution adopting a final development plan for the crossings in the Village 1 specific plan for 527 single-family residential lots, 5 landscape lots, and 1 park lot on property located east of Claus Road and north of East Briggsmore Avenue.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion by Councilmember Wright.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Gutierrez-Brayton.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye. Carries unanimously. Next, resolution adopting a mitigated negative declaration for a general plan amendment, the Village 1 specific plan amendment number 26, Village 1 precise plan number 35 South, vesting tentative subdivision map, the crossings, and final development plan, the crossings. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion. Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Alvarez, second by Councilmember Bavaro. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Gutierrez-Brayton.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye. Carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item is thank you very much. This is item 21. Consider accepting the Home Key 3 award in the amount of $16,059,562 and home investment partnership loans to Modesto Home Key LP in the amount of $3,473,712 and $200,000 for staff activity and approving an agreement with Stanislaus County Community Services Agency for the acceptance of homeless housing assistance and prevention program funding in the amount of $1,775,077 for the project located at 710 North 9th Street. We will have a staff report. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor, City Council. I'm happy to present another housing project, actually, that's within our housing continuum, but it's going to be the permanent supportive housing component. So, in a little bit of background, in early 2023, the city received an affordable housing proposal from RH Community Builders for the rehabilitation or the acquisition and rehabilitation of the Travelers Motel located at 710 North 9th Street. The Travelers Hotel consisted of 56 units, and the proposal was to devote 38 of those units to youth, 17 for the general homeless population, and then 1 manager unit. So on May 2nd, 2023, council authorized staff to apply for a Project Home Key grant in an amount up to $17 million. The project was also funded by the Community System of Care and the Health Plan of San Joaquin, leveraging local funds totaling $4 million. We were excited to say the city applied for, in partnership with RH Community Builders, the grant in September 26, and on September 26, 2023, we were notified that we received our full reward request of just over $16 million. So a little bit about the development. It is proposed to be permanent supportive housing for those experiencing homelessness at 710 North 9th Street. It's a composition of 56 total units, 38 youth, 17 traditional homeless unit, and 1 management unit. And for status of the property is currently in ESCO pending council acceptance of our Home Key Award to move forward. So as part of our overall project costs, there was funding needed to help with the relocation of those who were living in the hotel. and having that being their home. And we're excited to say that $1.2 million was awarded, and all households that were living in the hotel have been safely relocated. As part of the project, there will be supportive services. We are partnering with Stanislaus County, Aspiranet, as well as Center for Human Services to provide those services. Some of those services include the mental health services, peer support, and then other linkages to outside community providers, including physical and dental care. The service provider team will also be trained in assessing mental health and substance use disorders so they can link clients to appropriate services. So overall, the project is a $23.4 million project. So the capital award consists of $21.8 million, and you can see the allocation of the capital component for the home keys, just under $15 million. For our local supports, about $3.4 million, and then a county or a city contribution of $3.4 million. We did have relocation costs of $1.2 million, which were received from other outside sources, so Home Key as well as Health Plan of San Joaquin. And then there was an operating allocation that was received as part of Project Home Key that puts our totals where we're proposing for a $23.4 million project, the city contribution to be about $3.4 million. So what I wanted to do is further break down the $23.4 million. For acquisition and development or demolition of the site, it's about $6.9 million. All acquisition costs are supported by an approved appraiser by the state of California. The rehabilitation costs are about $10.7 million. Some of the biggest items include electrical, plumbing, and mechanical systems. It is a very old property, so bringing all of those up to code and replacing has been very costly, and we're anticipating about $2.2 million. Solar panels will be added, which we anticipate about $500,000. Roofing, flooring, and drywall upgrades are about $670,000, and some of the site infrastructure include just under $400,000. So as you can see, it is a large total project cost, but that is supported by an engineer's estimate by the developer itself, as well as a contractor who's gone out there to support those rehabilitation costs. So in order to meet the Project Home Key timeline, staff is seeking the following approvals. The first one is a memorandum of understanding with the Stanislaus County Community System of Care to help manage the Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program funds, or HAP, in the amount of $1.7 million. The second component is for a city contribution of $3.4 million to support the project. Of that would be home ARP funds for an amount not to exceed $2.8 million, and then home investment partnership program funds for an amount not to exceed $673,000. So these are funding that the city receives specifically each year. Home ARP was a one-time funding to support new construction or redevelopment of new affordable housing units, and home is specifically used for the construction of new housing units as well. So this is specifically only this type of funding. This funding can only be used for this type of project. The other thing and the safety net we have for these types of projects is funds will be dispersed on a cost reimbursement basis, and so city will receive invoices for all the costs and then verify the work's been done and then reimburse the developer for those costs. For the project timeline, the agreement execution, if approved tonight, we'd like to complete in January 2024 to complete the acquisition, for construction to start in February, be completed in September, and full occupancy by the end of the year. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much for that report. Does council have any questions of staff? Councilmember Escudia-Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. Super exciting, yay. Jessica, so of the 50-something units, how are we going to, what's the placement of tenants going to look like for the 38 spaces for youth, 17 for general population, and then 1 for the manager?
So as required by the grant, it's all through our coordinated entry system. And so all homeless individuals have to complete a prioritization or VI SPDAT. And then what the outreach workers do is actually engage with those who have the highest need and ensure that they're document ready to place them into permanent housing. And so our providers now, Behavioral Health and Recovery Services and Center for Human Services, are working directly with clients to get them housing ready and make sure that they have all the essential documents.
So is it safe to assume that those individuals that will be housed in the supportive housing will come from the programs that we have either established or partnered with other entities to establish, safe parking, the shelters, just those, is that where the individuals will come from?
Absolutely. So they'll be through the coordinated entry list, but in order to be connected, you need to be in one of those services as well, or we encourage to be a part of those services. So one of the biggest partners here for the 38 units is Center for Human Services, where we've helped fund their Youth Navigation Center
Yes.
and their Youth Continuum of Care for Homelessness. So this helps with that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have a question. What is the age for the 38 youth units?
18 to 25.
Thank you. Councilmember Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really impressed with your timeline here. You're going to get this all done this year, and that is moving pretty fast compared to other projects that we've tried to done over the few years. So my hat's off to you. So you have we have construction people already lined up, ready to go. February 1st.
Yes,
Great.
that's correct.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's outstanding that you all were able to get those that were at the location at 710 North 9th Street to other locations, and explain to the rest of those who may not know that those that were put in different locations have up to a year. Am I correct?
So what we do is we work with them all for a relocation plan and to hope to permanently relocate them. So a majority of those who are relocated were permanently relocated to other housing opportunities. There are 14 who are temporarily relocated as we look for a permanent solution, but they'll also have the ability to move back to Travelers once the project's completed.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. So City of Modesto's commitment's a little over $3 million, correct?
That is correct.
And that's coming from a funding source of HUD, correct?
Correct.
So it's not general fund money.
That is correct.
Okay. I appreciate you breaking down the budget details. It really is very helpful in trying to understand the magnitude, not only the magnitude of the cost, but the things that we have to comply with in order for this type of project to become reality. So I appreciate you doing that.
Great, thank you.
All right, any other questions from council members? Seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding item 21? Sure, welcome.
Good evening again. I already talked to you about it, that I'm all for housing for low-income families. I think I'm amazed that if each one of you going to rebuild your home today, you're going to take a few bids, you're going to bring a few different peoples. But in your case, even if you bring only the first one person and you give him all the money to do the job, this is your money, you can do with it whatever you want to do. I don't believe that a state project, a city project, whatever, it's just you bring the guy that he help you to bring the money and you just get the job. And nobody asks how much it costs. I tell you something, my wife, she's a real estate agent. She showed me a couple of months ago, I asked her to show me. A couple of months ago, she showed me 143 units in Modesto, from 1-bedroom apartment and to 3 bedrooms, 3 and 4 bedrooms apartment and duplexes. And she showed me 143 units that were for sale or just sold for $22.5 million. Now here, with this project and the project on 7th Street, you're going to spend $80 million on 136 units. And I just can't figure it if it's a tax money payer, and I know Mr. Ricky told me that he understands my frustration, but I don't think he understands. I think it's, and I tell you another thing, this year you won't get the money from the state like you're expecting to get all the time, because the state broke. A few months from now, you're going to start to see the difference. And I'm amazed how you guys just $23.5 million, you know, give it to most of the money going to this project, to this guy. You guys buying the property according to your papers from last time for $6.7 million. You know, there is a property on McHenry, prime location, 98 units by the old Vagabond Motel, okay? The developer paid for that property $3.5 million. And I just amazed how easy it's, and I don't know even if it's legal, you know, to spend taxpayer money without checking. Check with a few different builders. The ones that just one guy, he's bring I know how it's work, you know, it's friend bring friend, but I think it's wrong. And by the way, look how many projects in California the last few months, the same type of project collapsed because fraud between the builder, between the guys that bring them, all kind of stories. Just check into it before. Every time, you know, it's amazed me how easy it, you know, the city manager brings something here and you guys, nobody say anything, nobody ask real question, just everybody vote, you know, and done deal. I think it's ridiculous the amount of money that you spend, and you could save a lot of money for other projects for low-income families. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this item?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Jessica Hoff-Burzak. I'm one of the developers working on this project. We're so excited to be here. Thank you to the staff for the incredible support. Supportive housing takes a real team effort. So we've been connected with the service providers, with your continuum of care, with your behavioral health department, with your city. This will actually be the 7th Home Key project for us up and down the Central Valley, from Visalia and Tulare up through Fresno, Merced, and now here. So we're really happy to be here. I know the costs seem intense at times in the world of affordable housing. I just want to remind you that we're creating a 55-year affordability covenant in partnership with the state here. We're recording an affordability agreement in favor of the city, so you have the guarantee that these units will stay affordable for people experiencing homelessness. As you said, we're about to probably find out through our pit counts that numbers are only going up. And I really appreciate the commitment to bridge housing. We're having fun conversations around that too, but that is intended to go somewhere permanent. So like the conversations with private developers, we have to create the permanent housing options for people living with disabilities, people who may never have access to home ownership in our country. And so this is what this product creates, is a permanent home where someone perhaps with a disability, someone who's experienced trauma and has lived on the streets or lived in our shelter system can be safe, can be wrapped with the kinds of services to help them live with dignity, have a lease, have rights of tenancy here within Modesto. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Right. Any other comments from the public regarding item 21? All right, I will close public comments. Any council member comments? Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Jessica. Of course. Jessica, thank you for coming to Modesto and talking on behalf of the Home Key. The one thing that I would like to say is thank you for choosing Modesto. And because you chose Modesto and our buy-in was around 12%, that literally came from the citizens of Modesto, and that 12% equates to about $62,000 a unit, which is something that we as a city can afford. So thank you for bringing those other dollars to us to be able to have a 55-year covenant that stays right here in Modesto because of those units will be rented. And so thank you. That's what all I wanted to say. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. Jessica, can you share with us the procurement process on this project?
So I'm going to pass it to Jessica Burzak to answer that question for us. Thanks.
clearly we were born in the same decade. We are out to bid. Actually, the bid process closes Thursday, right? Today's the 23rd. So we do competitively look at these costs. We are very careful with our bidding process. We've done a lot of these motels now, so we've learned what hides behind those walls and what code problems are there. And so we are out and we're working through that procurement process. We're not formally procuring, but we are out to bid, and we've been very open book about those costs that we're receiving.
All right, any other comments from council members regarding item 21? Councilmember Ricky.
I also want to thank the Jessicas for making this happen. We are in a housing crisis, and as we all know, and it's not going to get better anytime soon. So significant efforts like this are going to improve our situation dramatically, and I appreciate your hard work.
All right. I believe that concludes council comments. So this is one motion, one vote, but it's very long. So bear with me. This is a resolution accepting the Home Key 3 award in the amount of $16,059,562 and approving the Home Key regulatory agreement authorizing the city manager or his designee to negotiate and execute an agreement with Modesto Home Key LP and the state of California for the development of 710 North 9th Street. A resolution approving a Home American Rescue Plan Act loan to Modesto Home Key LP in an amount not to exceed $98,308. So that's two separate amounts. Am I reading that?
Yes, it's an amount, and then the other amount is about staff activity delivery.
Okay, $98,308 in staff activity delivery, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to negotiate and execute an agreement with Modesto Home Key LP for the development of at 710 North 9th Street. Resolution approving a home investment partnership program loan to Modesto Home Key LP in an amount not to exceed $673,712, $102,000 in staff activity delivery, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to negotiate and execute an agreement with Modesto Home Key LP for the development at 710 North 9th Street. A resolution approving an agreement with Stanislaus County Community Services Agency for the acceptance of homeless housing assistance and prevention program funding in the amount of $1,775,077 and to issue a grant in an amount not to exceed $1,755,077 to Modesto Home Key LP and authorizing the city manager or his designee to negotiate and execute an agreement with Modesto Home Key LP for the development of 710 North 9th Street. A resolution rescinding Resolution 2023-213 and amending the fiscal year 2023-2024 multi-year fund budget for the Travelers Project Fund to be funded with Home Key 3.0 program funds, Home American Rescue Plan funds, Home Investment Partnership funds, and Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program funds for the development of 710 North 9th Street affordable housing project totaling $21,308,351 and $200,000 for activity delivery costs and budgeting the necessary revenue expense transfers and authorizing the city manager or his designee to take the necessary steps to implement the provisions in this resolution. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Alvarez, seconded by Councilmember Williams. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmembers Gutierrez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwollen.
Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Are there any matters too late for the agenda? Seeing none, I am calling this meeting of the City Council to be adjourned.